Good evening, all. Welcome to our live stream QA session. My name is Kashab Kashab, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Scroll.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see you guys again. So pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to go over the community update, and also not only that, we're going to go over like all the questions that you guys have had on Telegram and all that stuff. I hope you guys like our office and everything because it's pretty cool. It's kind of gray, but it's pretty. I like it a lot. Coming into work is fun. So anyway, you guys like to send me DMs and stuff like that on Telegram, and I listen to all of them. I try to get to them when I can. We also have questions that were asked in the main Scroll Telegram. Please ask the questions in the main Telegram from now on, because when I get bombarded with DMs, people feel like I ignore them, and I actually make a really solid effort to try to answer everybody, but some people feel like that I discard what they're trying to ask me. And I don't do that, I promise. So one big concern that people have is whenever there's cryptocurrency or blockchain news about some Fortune 500 company releasing some brand new Ethereum framework, everyone freaks out because it says something with data, storage, and management. And I just want to tell you guys that we have a very unique solution. And I'll specifically talk about AWS in terms of what they are putting out with the Ethereum blockchain and Hyperledger Fabric. Those are Ethereum implementation projects, and they're projects. It's not really correlative to what we're doing. We're putting out dApps, we're putting out products, and we're putting out different unique networks that are much different from what they're trying to achieve. And a lot of those projects are like build-up projects because blockchain is very philanthropical and a lot of people want to contribute code. So in a lot of cases, they're open source projects. Our main initiative is to get the technology that is blockchain adopted through building products, and that's what we're doing. So another thing too is hopefully I get this acronym right or something. Someone mentioned something about ABCs of what blockchain projects need, and I can with confidence say that 2019 will be the year of ABCs. So that's good as well. And another thing that I wanted to go into as well is just in general, like how things are with like blockchain landscape in general. There's just been a lot of commotion over the past month and stuff like that. I've been trying to be more involved in Twitter and try to be more a part or more assimilate Scroll into the blockchain community. And I just want to let you guys know that we're much different in our approach with how we want to take the company and take the project. It's just a completely different direction than what we want to go with other projects. We want to make ourselves very unique. We're one of the few projects actually working on data specifically with blockchain. And that being said, we don't just use blockchain. We use a lot of other legacy systems as well to build these applications. So when you see a really nice UI and you see really easy functionality, that is also correlative to those legacy systems in play with blockchain. It's not just one big blockchain central project. We do a lot of work with other legacy systems and stuff like that. So that being said, I think that we want to get into the QA now.
Yeah,
so
dive right in.
Yeah, cool. So here you go.
So let's get this started. From Icarus, we have the first question. And he says, hope all is well, and he has a question regarding potential investors and partnerships. If they decide to invest into Scroll as either a partnership or invest in the company, is that arranged through traditional fiat funds to back the company, or do they invest through the actual Scroll token via exchanges?
Okay. So partners don't invest in us, at least not the partners we have now. When you see a partnership, that just means that we're working with them on something. Partnerships in general in blockchain, I've really kind of never understood why people put so much precedent on partnerships and stuff like that, just because it's just it's a grandiose means to saying, hey, we're working together on something, but it doesn't mean that we're completely assimilating with the other company. If we announce like a large partner in the future, and we do have a very large pipeline of companies that are interested in doing work with us. wouldn't be. We have to really think about like if we're partnering with somebody, are they a competitor? Like, are we trying to compete product-wise with them? Because if they are a competitor, they most likely, like, it just wouldn't make sense to partner with them unless our ideals aligned. But in terms of investment, we really only look at equity right now. In terms of our raise, what we're looking to raise is a venture capital round soon in the future. We usually only do equity. It's accredited or institutional investors only. And I guess that's in fiat funds, and it's just a traditional venture capital raise. Our company process is very similar to the VC process in general, just because VC is very straightforward, by the books, like this is what you need to do. Whereas with your classical cryptocurrency or blockchain project, they go more on the side of let's develop these networks, let's make them decentralized, let's get a bunch of developers on them, and let's grow. And that's how Ethereum started. So essentially what Ethereum did is they were like, okay, let's make a token, let's put a network up, let's have people build projects on the network, and it's going to be a foundation. That's why if you see like IOTA or Ethereum or Cardano, they're foundations and they're philanthropical projects. They're meant to give. So we are more of a company and a business. We make products, we sell those products, we build them for companies, and then they use our service. So don't get those misconstrued. And that's pretty much, I think that answers the question pretty well.
Thank you for thoroughly explaining that. We have two follow-up questions from Iran El-Hanani, and the first one goes as, I noticed you were mentioning private chat and communication as a possible product. Is that in the works? I know some other companies are working or have that platform.
So we're adding private chat to Slide Drive because it's a really unique feature, and we are pushing through the values of blockchain and what, if you guys want to go all the way back to like Satoshi and the Bitcoin white paper, pretty much if you want to like nail down the main points of the technology, it's privacy, excluding a third party, and secure transactions. So with Slide Drive, we're trying to incorporate all those hallmarks into the software. So when we put out like new 2.0 features where it's like we want to do a private chat, that's because we can do it and we know that it's something that people would like to do. It is something we're working on, but it's not a major part of our business model, but it's something we will support. But yes, Slide Drive will have a private chat. The way that it's going to work is two people will open a chat room. If one person leaves, it closes the chat room. So it's completely private, no third party involved, and we'll get into that more when we release more 2.0 features. But that's pretty much how the Slide Drive private chat works. We're also doing video chat and phone calls. So the way that it works with Telegram is you're still communicating with a third-party server of some kind. There are ways where you can scrape your Telegram app to receive messages back. A lot of like good cryptographic people, the cryptographic community, have found ways to actually scrape Telegram, and you can get your messages back if you need them. With Slide Drive, they're permanently gone. So it's completely peer-to-peer. We're taking peer-to-peer technology and we're moving it forward much quicker and bringing it to the current generation, and we're using blockchain technology as like a catalyst of values and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going into Slide Drive. I'm really excited for it. We operate Slide Drive in the office as well. If you read our community update, we just recently did our second phase of a pen test. For people that don't really know what a pen test is, it's where you hire a firm, or like a QA firm in our case, and they try to break your software with more common to less common methodologies of breaking software, and then they give you feedback in the form of a document. And in our case, Slide Drive came out 100% awesome in phase 2, and we've got another wave of pen testing going out. But by the time the software reaches you guys, it's going to be so secure. We're going to make sure it's secure. So yeah, so that was that question.
It's always nice to hear about good news for Slide Drive. So the follow-up question goes back to the net types, and the question is, how would 3 main net types impact the token in terms of liquidity, volume, and price?
I'm not talking about the token price. The so essentially with the three networks, it's just more means for a utility token to be used. So commonly what most dApps want in terms of their token to be used is they want it to be like a micro license where in order to access the dApp you need to have the tokens in your wallet, and then by having a token in the wallet it gives the user the ability to access the dApp. So we're taking that and we're throwing it out because it doesn't make any sense. So you essentially, why would you need to exchange a token if it's just one token in a wallet as a micro license to access the dApp? It just doesn't make any sense. So what we're doing is we're consuming transaction costs on those networks with a digital asset, because if you did not have a digital asset, there would be no point in using blockchain. So a lot of people also get this very confused. They think that you can use blockchain without a digital asset, and if you're not using a digital asset, it's just not blockchain, it's just a database. You need a digital asset to consume those transactions, and if you don't, that's just what it is. So when we have those networks, we have different types of networks for the reason that we want to just do different things with those networks. We have different clients, different client base, and the primary reason why we put out multiple blockchains is we don't want to have to fork all the time, and if we have one client that wants to do this one thing, then we need to make sure that the voting privileges are more adept to that specific client, because if we have one huge decentralized network, it's like we're doing financial payments and we're not in the world of finance. We're completely data. We do data transactions, and in the supply chain world, data transactions, there's a lot of issues with them right now in terms of efficiency and cost. We're taking those costs down and we're bringing them into the 21st century rather than where they were before, where it's like you pay money and then you hope that the other person gets the money. But in this case, you'll get the money. So, but yeah, in terms of blockchain in general, we need a digital asset. So that's any network we put up, then that is going to consume those costs. That's what it has been doing. That's what it is doing. That's just what it's going to be. Another thing too that I wanted to point out as well that I think a lot of people get confused about too is that decentralized digital assets aren't just one company's decentralized digital asset. If you look at XRP, a lot of other banks are using it, and it's good for that purpose because that's the decentralized nature of XRP. Now, we're talking about the digital asset. If people want to use digital assets like Bitcoin for payments, then Bitcoin is a great way to pay for things that not using dollars. Ethereum is meant for gas costs on the Ethereum network or compensating developers and mining and all that stuff. So what we do is we have a data transaction token, and if as there are more supply chain developments in blockchain, people will need a data transaction token to consume their transactions on blockchain. Otherwise, they are just using a standard database like SAP catalogs information for a supply chain. So I think it's really important if we as a community for blockchain in general start recognizing what's a database and what's a blockchain. Blockchains, you can't really change blockchains. You can't have a blockchain without a crypto. You can't have, like with a centralized database, you can't just add a crypto to it and call it a blockchain. There's just things that it is and things that it isn't. And we are using blockchain technology. So those are just things that we have to do. But yeah, here you go.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Dave asks, is there a rough ETA on the Scroll wallet?
So the reason why we haven't put out a wallet yet, the primary reason is that we want to work with another entity on the wallet. And when I say that is we want to create like a unique relationship with the wallet where it's not just we put a wallet out and hope that you guys use it instead of Nano Ledger S. Like we want to actually integrate it into the products more deeply, and right now we believe that cold storage through Nano Ledger S is the most efficient resourceful way to store digital assets. So there's no point in putting a wallet out right now. In terms of token standard, this is another thing that I wanted to just say, blanket statement. ERC20 is fine. And the reason why I say that it's fine is due to the fact that ERC20 didn't do bad things to the crypto community. Bad people did bad things. It just so happens that people misused ERC20 when in reality it's incredibly resourceful. If you look at, like, let's go back to AWS. They're using Ethereum not because they think Ethereum is going to die, but because there's a lot of documentation and a lot of developers on the project. It's one of the biggest open source projects in the world. And I'm not trying to say, oh man, I'm bullish on Ethereum. All I'm saying is that there's a lot of work that went into Ethereum, and it will probably continue to be one of the biggest open source projects in the world. So when you see people negatively talking about ERC20, what they should be negatively talking about is, oh, we should have, like, those bad people did bad things, not just, oh, ERC20 did bad things to me. You know, it's just bad people. Bad people do bad things. So we will eventually be completely onto our own standard. And the reason why we don't at the moment is because then we would be revoking the ability for you to use the cold storage that you currently use. And we don't want to just rip that out from under people, because I don't think anyone would really appreciate that if they went out and bought a Nano and then you suddenly can't use the Nano anymore. It will not, it's just moreover the significance of what is easy for everybody to use. And I think by the time we put the wallet out, I think everyone's going to be really happy with the result, because it's not going to be like the way other projects release wallets. So we're not just going to drop it on everybody. There's a process. So yeah, here we go.
Thank you for that answer. Kirk is interested in some clarification on the partnerships that were previously listed, and his question is, will there be a new partners section on the revised website?
Yes, there will be. That's the plan to do that. We have more, like we announced that we were partnering with Holberton School today. I'm actually really excited about that because I like the educational process of programming. I think it's really cool to see people learn that anyone can build these really cool things. And I'm just really excited about that partnership, primarily due to the fact that anyone can build these programs. And I think a lot of people forget that they have the ability and the natural talent to do that. Like a lot of people, even in Telegram, people will DM me or they'll DM someone on the team and they'll be like, okay, how do I get started? What do I really do? I want to learn this sort of stuff. And you can learn how to program. It's not incredibly difficult. I struggled a lot when I first started learning, and then it just worked, and now I feel great. Well, this is like I'm going through a, hey, I just went to the gym kind of thing. No, I'm just talking specifically about programming. But yeah, I'm excited about that partnership. We're going to get a lot of new talent in here, and we have a really cool atmosphere that we work in, and I think a lot of people would like to work here. So it's an exciting partnership. But yes, we will be putting out a new partner section, and the reason why we don't primarily is we want to focus attention on what we're building now. And when we get involved with bigger entities, which will happen, then in that case, it'll just accentuate what we're building more. We don't want people to enter the website to try to get some validation from another brand. We want them to feel validated and welcomed by our brand. So, and our business at the end of the day is not a partner's business. While we would work with them, it's Scroll at the end of the day. That's what we are. It's what we want to show, and it's important that we don't exaggerate relationships that we have with other businesses. I think that other people, when they put out partnership announcements, they like to cover their brand, and then they put the bigger company's brand up. We're in blockchain, which is a very unique space. It's very young, and there are a lot of legitimate relationships going on with these bigger companies, but a lot of these partnerships and relationships, they take a long time to solidify because of contracts and just legal jargon. So be wary if you see like a sudden partnership pop up, because a lot of the times those relationships take a really long time to build. and they don't just pop up out of nowhere. But yeah, we will be putting a partnership section up.
Thank you for shining some light on that. Andy B writes that he has a question. He says, we know the institutional investors can't sell for 12 months or whatever it was, but what's the deal with the 10% that was allocated to the team at ICO?
So in terms of team tokens, we aren't touching that landscape right now until we have more clarity on the legal end of things. So I guess that's just not, it's not in tandem with institutional requirements. So those are going to remain a separate thing until more legal clarity is revealed. On top of that too, we do a lot of like legal compliance work inside the company as well. There's a lot of barriers that we go through to get things done. It's much easier on the product side to be able to do things because it's very straightforward. You have a product, you sell the product, people use the product, they like it, hopefully, and that's easier to do. But there's a lot of gray area with a lot of this stuff, and we're really trying to be an example for what others should do if they want to build a successful blockchain company in the United States. And everything that we do is like checkpointed. We check with legal advice on pretty much every decision we make. And the last thing we'd want to do is just go through and try to like give like X amount of tokens to this person because of this reason without checking. So to answer your question, that's not something that we've really that we plan on announcing, but we will announce it when we get more clarity on it. And yeah, so.
So 2 questions from Kirk. The first one is, hey guys, I just have a question for Nate and the team today. I'm wondering if Aster launch will facilitate new ICOs and cryptocurrency projects.
So the original idea is that we wanted to be a facilitator of new cryptocurrency projects, and we still do, but the ICO landscape is so, it's so unknown right now. There really needs to be some sort of clarity for projects in general. This goes for international too, because this is just, there needs to be more clarity so that way good people can build new cool products. We, in terms of doing like a cryptocurrency raise or something like that, it's good because it can enable new entrepreneurs around the world to have access to capital if they would not have capital beforehand. And that is really awesome. And that is like one of the pros to like cryptocurrency raises and all that stuff. One of the negatives is that there's not enough disclosure and there's not enough transparency from some teams. So we are not going to be examining hosting new cryptocurrencies on the platform until we get more of that verification, that green light, where there are guidelines, like these are the rules, this is what needs to be done. Until then, we would require that those projects follow regular securities laws. And that means that they would have to get consultation from our law firm. And because until there's really guidance, you have to follow standard securities laws. And that's just pretty much what has been said, so that's what needs to be done. But we are for building products on our technology. That is perfectly fine with us. That's something we want to do. And if people have the question of like, oh, is that too centralized? It's not a matter of centralization. It's just a matter of keeping the platform legitimate and making sure that people can trust the platform. So, yeah.
And the follow-up question from Kirk is, will this mainnet release also include the release of developer tools for a new project for a new project onboarding?
Depending on the mainnet or the network that you're thinking of, I don't know. If you're building, like say that I'm a student and I want to build a supply chain based blockchain project, and I went on Scroll's website and I saw that they have Aster, and I want to use Aster to build something. That would be more in the line of putting an add-on into Aster, not so much building this new competitor to us using our technology. We would want you to build, like, if you've used Slack, how Slack has like downloadable add-ons, that's something that we would probably promote. It's not something we've really talked about in-house, but that's the way I foresee it happening. That's moreover using the wide scope of the total network in and of itself, and that is like an SDK we would put out in 2019 to be able to use. So whatever we put open source, that's pretty much free game for people to use. Other than that, unless we decide to do something like Hyperledger Quilt, where it's closed source, I don't think that we're gonna be having people build competition on our own technology. So because that's effectively what would happen, just based on how the networks are designed. So yeah.
This one should be a simpler answer for you. Andy B asks, don't tokens need to be bought for use, or am I getting that wrong?
Well, I mean, in a platform that requires gas costs to compensate transaction, then yes, they would need to be purchased. But please refer to past updates. That's a long discussion. We've addressed that, how that's going to be working in past updates. So please check that out, and that should have your answer in those updates. I think it was the last one we did. So yeah, feel free to go check that out.
So Ben says, I assume Solutech is based in the US. Do you know if they're going to sign up to EU-US Privacy Shield, as this will be important to break into the European market, or will they be intending to sign binding corporate rules with EU customers?
So if this is in reference to GDPR and stuff like that, I think that that's something we'd be for. We're also looking into FedRAMP to be able to serve government entities with our technology. Primarily, we are a data privacy and cryptography company. That's a lot of what we do, and we also do a lot of data forensics here, and that's something that could benefit a lot of people. So we don't want to just limit our software. We want other people to use it widespread, and if that means a custom solution that we would work with a partner to build, then that's something we'd want to do. In terms of EU customers, we're not servicing anybody in the EU right now, so we haven't really jumped over that hurdle, but when we do, we would consult legal and make sure that everything is in compliance with whatever their regulations are. So.
Next up, we have two more questions from Kirk. Keep them coming, Kirk. I think you took them down already, but just in case, 1, slide drive beta. Will this include the fiat on and off ramping feature?
Depends on the phase of slide drive development. That we can get back to you on that. It just depends on the stage of development of the software in order to provide that experience. So all of our products do incorporate the token as it is a utility token, and they are used for the reasons that I explained. So, but in terms of beta, I'd imagine that we would use it. But in terms of the on-off ramp, that's up to like that's more of a regulatory compliance question. So I think actually I answered that too in a past update as well. So if you want to go check that out, there are a lot of answers that are buried. So if you want to go and look in our archive, we have those answers and they're in plain English. So you should be able to look back and see. So.
Second part of the question is, for Slide Drive 2.0, what's the approximate timeline for release on this? I'd love to use it.
Slide Drive 2.0, assuming that all of the features are done, I think the development team is more in line right now of putting Slide Drive out in earlier of 2019 with the existing features that we have, and then adding features as we go. We put up 2.0 features to be able to show people what the maximum product can do. But to start, I think we're going to just begin a release with Slide Drive, and then we will add 2.0 features. And if we have the ability to put them out early, then we will. But we want to make sure that quality is really important to us, and especially when you're working with these types of technologies, they can get very convoluted very quickly. And we don't want to damage the UI. Like the UI that you saw at TechCrunch is not going to be the UI that you're going to have when you get Slide Drive. So and even the Aster UI might change, even though I really like the Aster UI. So, yeah, it all depends on the stage of development, but we're moving in a really solid direction, and we should have it out in no time. So,
Splendid McGinty wonders, one of the next big chapters in the story has to be customer adoption or announcements. Anything on the immediate horizon in this respect, and if so, care to elaborate?
so the way I think I understand this question is, are we getting more business relationships anytime soon? And the answer is yes, but I can't tell you which, just because there's no contracts that are signed. That would just be a breach of trust if I were to just say who we're talking to, because things can fall through. Not saying they will, but it's more of a professional angle to be like, hey, let's tell them after it's done, so that way there's no big question marks about things afterwards. And also we don't want to burn bridges either. Like, think of it too from the respect of the other entity as well. When a lot of these announcements go out, it really changes their brand a lot, and they have a lot to lose if you're the bigger entity. So if you want to assimilate with another entity, your values need to be the same. Like, let's look at IBM and Red Hat, for instance. That acquisition probably took them a year to figure out, and the reason why that acquisition ultimately did happen is because they found common ground with each other, and the brand didn't get misconstrued of IBM at all. So it's more over on their side for respect as well, and that's just something we value. So we don't want to burn bridges, especially with us being as early stage as we are. We want to make sure that all the business relationships we do are done properly.
Thank you, Nate. Ben asks, while you're here, do you know what coding language Scroll is? I'm considering learning coding and not sure what to do first. Most people seem to recommend learning C++.
So if you want to learn code, I started with C in terms of like college classes, and when I started learning more formal ways to program, you can just go right to Java, to be honest with you. It really depends on what you're looking for when you say, I want to learn how to code. There's different languages do different things for different purposes, and then there's different libraries that do different things. So in terms of the stack on what we're using, we are primarily using Node, Python 3. We're introducing Solidity. We haven't really checked into Viper that much. It's brand new. We do use C++ in terms of Hyperledger. Let's see. I feel like JSON, but like that's object notation. I don't know if people would consider that a programming language in some way. It's just a bunch of objects. But just start with C, I would say. If you really want to start learning, just sign up for a college class or something. That's why I was excited about Holberton, guys, because everyone can learn how to code. It's really unique, and you don't need a college class to learn to code. I'm going to take that back. You don't need it. You can learn how to code from your laptop if you want to, or YouTube tutorials. But if you're like me and you get angry with YouTube tutorials because they're too long, you could go to college, but don't do that. So anyway, just next question.
So Josh is asking, can you please clarify if the revenues generated from the token or fiat exchange or any business transaction utilizing Scroll will run through Scroll Incorporated, or will all revenues run up through the parent company, Solutech?
Scroll Incorporated doesn't exist, but if it did in an alternate universe, I'm sure it would be really cool. So in terms of Solutech, all the revenues we garner from our products, then that goes to Solutech itself, and that is an incorporated entity. We're incorporated in Delaware if you want to look at it. But yeah, Solutech is the overarching company that governs the Scroll project, and we're going to be introducing more projects in the future. The reason why we did that business model is so that way we can expand the brand without hurting one particular project, because Scroll's going to be big, but when we introduce a new brand, we don't want it to be Scroll this. We want it to just be its own thing. So if we were to essentially make the parent company scroll and then just have other things under it, then it could just get really confusing. But instead, we decided to have a parent company that governs a project. So revenues would go to Solutech, and then Solutech would then do business operations with said revenues. So, yeah.
Thank you. Our last two questions. The first one from Ben. In regards to the Aster DApp demo, have you built in an accounting element recording financial transactions and etc. so the companies can keep their financial record keeping on it? Bookkeeping software effectively could be another selling point, or at least generate reports of transactions that can link to bookkeeping packages such as Xerox or Sage.
So the way that I understand this question is, do you do financial bookkeeping using immutable ledger technology? And the answer is no. We don't do anything in the realm of finance right now. Everything we do is data security related, or data storage, data management, whatever type of data, whatever adjective you want to add on to that. We don't really do that kind of bookkeeping for other entities, but we do keep books for our company, if that's your question. So yeah, everything is properly accounted for. We have bank statements like everybody else does. We're a company. So, yeah, we do company things. But other than that, yeah, I don't think we're gonna do financially related bookkeeping for people. If you send a file on Slide Drive, then we have a transaction log like you would see on Etherscan in our Block Explorer. You can see all the transactions that move through on Etherscan whenever tokens are moved for whatever project you're looking at or whatever Block Explorer they have. But as for what we do, I mean, we keep track of data transactions. We don't do bank money stuff. We're not a bank. So, yeah.
And our last question regarding Aster. Question regarding Aster. I'm assuming Scroll team developed the DApp that was shown yesterday, likely in consultation with a cog in the supply chain. Obviously, there are a ton of well-developed supply chain options out there. Is Scroll looking to develop their own supply chain DApp to market, or is it to show other supply chain software companies what Aster can do? And can existing software supply chain solutions be laid down on top of Aster, or do they or the business need to start from scratch?
All right, I like this question. So, it can integrate with legacy systems. Aster can be its own thing, or it can be incorporated with another solution if businesses don't want to give up one thing and they want another thing in terms of blockchain, because you got to look at the technology and break it down as to what it actually is. And there's a lot of different things that the technology can provide. That's why with Slide Drive, in terms of peer-to-peer technologies, when we say we're using specifics in that, that's because there's just a lot of things we can do. And with some businesses, if you use a full blockchain for the business, it could break their business process. That totally, in all honesty, with blockchain technology now, it's just not mature enough to be itself in business. It needs to be broken down, and some businesses need one thing versus another thing. With banks, they can use the whole system, and it would make a lot more sense in terms of transparency, but that's not what we're out to do. So with Aster, it can be its own standalone thing. We can incorporate it as a layer, or we can just integrate options that they want, and we can integrate legacy systems. So, like I said, the Aster UI that you saw, that's moreover just for an outlook on what Aster would be if you just bought Aster in and of itself. That's what we recommend you do if you want to use it for your business. But if they are using something different, like a lot of these supply chain companies use SAP, and they need an Aster integration, like smart contracts and stuff for their existing system, and they don't want to pivot because of a business process, then we can do that for them too. It really depends on the use case, and a lot of it will come down to custom solutions, but they will all be tethered to the same idea of how we would provide those services. So.
Well, that concludes my list of questions. Unless you have anything else to add, I think that's it, and we're going to wrap up and conclude this evening's Q&A. Thank you all.
Yep, thanks guys.